Welcome back to Sims Complete. I'm your host, Matt Sims. This is the Sims Complete podcast on the Believe Sports Network, brought to you by FanDuel. And hey, Wednesday, July 29th. I mean, here we are. Camp is here. Training camp is underway. We already have a ton of action going on. It's just me riding solo today. Big Phil still enjoying his little vacation here before the season begins. And rightfully so, the man, the legend himself has earned that right to be that guy. But soon enough, I know he's itching to get back on the show and to start talking football and to get through this stuff. And man, I just reminded again, of course, with Sims Complete and what I do training during the offseason, especially in the summertime, just the investment that so many people make playing the game of football, from parents, mentors, coaches, guardians, the coaches themselves, right, at all levels, youth and all the way up through the pros, the players themselves, the sacrifices they make, the families and what they do to help them prepare for the season, to enjoy the process of just being an athlete and taking part in that. So really special time of the year. And always with the special time of the year, the excitement that comes with it, maybe some stress and anxiety as well that goes along with just being a part of this unbelievable game. It is a great reminder of just how have to capitalize as much as possible on your opportunities, the game and what it presents to you, just like the game of life and those opportunities. When you have those things in front of you, don't wait a single moment. And the reason why, I kind of start with that is, one, a lot of my students preparing, leaving, going back to school, right? All this training, all the time they spent with me on the field in the blistering hot sun and all of that, going through those lessons together. Now they're embarking on that personal journey. And it's the same for the pros. It really is. And here we are early on in training camp, and we already see just the business of the game and how it affects roster construction, how it could potentially affect relationships. And that's something that I find extremely interesting right now. And that's what we're going to start with. We're going to start with, I think, something that is very interesting and just the lay of the land as far as football goes right now. Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Bucs, and how at this point, for there not to be some sort of contract that somewhat resembles an extension for Baker and what he's done, really, really unbelievable, honestly. I'm not really sure what the Bucs are thinking. And there's been conversations that I've heard from people on Get Up, from other news outlets as well, NFL Live, the discussion of, well, Baker needs to adjust his play for the Bucs to feel confident about making him the long-term solution for their franchise. And I just think that's just total BS. I just think that's them playing the game within the game and trying to use as much ammunition as they possibly can find to change the narrative and the focus of what it's really about. The truth is that Baker is definitely above that average threshold. There's no doubt about it. When Baker's hot, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And we all know that. A lot of us watch Tampa Bay Bucs games solely because we want to see what the hell is Baker Mayfield going to do this time with his entertaining style, with his fearless style. Yes, no doubt. Would we like to see him protect himself a little bit more? I'm sure the Bucs would. That's one of the things that they said. Hey, we want to see Baker just protect himself a little bit more. Maybe that's why they've been a little tough on him with this contract negotiation. But the way that I see it, this is now a longer tenured head coach in Todd Bowles, a longer tenured general manager and management staff that goes along with that. And, if they want to keep that tenure going, I think investing in Baker Mayfield is really one of the easiest things that you can do for your organization moving forward. I might be, alone in this topic, but I think Baker Mayfield has injected so much personality, so much energy and character to within that franchise that, to me, he's kind of at that point where he's borderline priceless with what he's been able to do for the Tampa Bay Bucs and keeping them relevant and keeping them in fighting shape down there in the NFC South, when really I feel like he's helped that team play above what their roster is really constructed for at the moment. And that's where, hey, it's not one coach, right? You got Canales, right? But then you got Liam Cohen. He's helped two guys now become head coaches with his ability. And that's another thing that's just a huge indicator to me and his importance to this roster. His ability to upgrade the team to play as aggressively as he did. Yes, I know he's battling injury last year. And when he got injured, yes, his production significantly changed. He was not able to just implement and impose his will on opposing teams the way they did earlier. At the same time, though, he was still out there giving it his all and going down fighting to the wire no matter what. And I think that's something that's like super impactful and important for the position of quarterback, and where, like, for the Bucs, really keeping in mind like what the focus is. You have a franchise caliber quarterback on your roster already. He would love to make Tampa Bay his home. And you would think that, yes, like the contract is going to be anywhere between mid 40s to 50 a year for him. And that's just the trend I think that we're headed in for the NFL in general, at the quarterback position in general, that if you want one of these franchise guys, yeah, it's going to cost you at least 50 a year. And I think Baker Mayfield at this point has earned the right to have that. And he has earned the right for a team to buy into him in that sense, right? Well, what he's gone through in Cleveland, what he's able to accomplish in this short window here in Tampa Bay, of course, with a roster that we know has had some of its, its pains and aches, and it's not been perfect. But at the same time, he's done a great job of uplifting that organization to a whole nother degree. And I really do believe that he should be rewarded for it, because in the theory of where he's at in his NFL career, I think it's only going to get better. I really do. I think he can only improve as a quarterback, as a leader, with more reps, with more experience. No doubt maybe the footwork and all those things will slowly decline as he continues to age, right? Like we see with most quarterbacks, like as they age, the athleticism stuff starts to go, but the other things start to get better. And I think that's where really for Baker and for the Bucs, for the Bucs, really, it's like, don't ruin the relationship, because we know that Baker takes these things personally, like he should, because it is his livelihood. And that's part of the reason why everything in Cleveland went as poorly as it did, because there wasn't that level of respect and communication and collaboration between the two parties. And no doubt, I'm sure Baker matured from that experience. I'm sure the Browns did too, to some degree as well. And now it's time, I think, for the Tampa Bay Bucs to realize what they have as well. And no doubt they can draft for the future, but whoever they draft for the future, there is absolutely no chance that player will walk into the NFL and be as prepared or ready to lead their football team with the same enthusiasm, capability, physical, emotional, spiritual capability that Baker Mayfield brings to the table. So absolutely need to clear that up, in my opinion, for the Tampa Bay Bucs and for the success of that organization moving forward, for the success of Todd Bowles staying in as a head coach. I'm a big fan of Todd. Having a quarterback like Baker makes Todd's job that much easier to focus on the defense side of the football for him moving forward. And that's something that, to me, got to keep our eyes on that one. Really curious to see how that plays out. Vita Vea asking for a trade, and now a part of this new culture of hold-ins, right? We're not holding out anymore. We're holding in. We're going to go to camp. We're just not going to do anything. So Vita Vea steps out of practice, actually. I believe it was today, from an unknown injury. That unknown injury is, the Article 3 within his contract of that. He wants more. He has earned the right, as well as Baker, being the anchor of that football team. And that's really where the Bucs are right now at this moment. Is you got your star quarterback on the offensive side, you got your star defensive tackle, and basically just the anchor of the football team on the defense side. They both think that they deserve more. They need the recognition. They deserve that. And I think the Bucs need to take care of them. And hopefully they do that sooner rather than later, before the relationship gets to a point where it actually could then create some sort of negative effect across the franchise. Other news that I find extremely fascinating. This is Sims Complete Podcast, a part of the Believe Sports Network, brought to you by FanDuel. And it's really interesting. We got Jonathan Taylor. We got Bijan Robinson. Man, awesome, right? Jahmyr Gibbs and what he's done. And this is the time of the year, too. Nobody wants to be the first guy to sign. Nobody wants to be the one that signs first out of the group, because you know that the next two are going to be trying to just one up that contract right before him. So it's a really fun time period, I feel like, in football, where you can be the highest paid position. It seems like maybe for like a moment, for a day, for a two. We saw that with Ward's contract the other day at the cornerback position. Christian Gonzalez still hasn't signed his contract, so would expect him to reset the market potentially with that. And you got to be thinking, right, for all three of these franchises, questions at the quarterback position, right, except for Jahmyr Gibbs and the Detroit Lions, with Bijan Robinson. Tua Tagovailoa out today at practice with a back injury. Michael Penix still 3 to 4 weeks away from being back healthy on the field again. Well, the whole team is really focused on Bijan Robinson and what he can do with the football. And then also the young skill talent that they have, re-signing Kyle Pitts, bringing him back as well. So the Falcons in a really precarious situation where the quarterback situation really just a huge question mark. Can Tua stay healthy? Is this just kind of them managing the situation? Is Penix the guy for the long term for them? If so, can he stay healthy enough within that organization for us to get to see that? And really would be curious. I think Kevin Stefanski is going to bring a ton of energy and offensive creativity that was missing, right, in Atlanta, and especially for Michael Penix. I thought the offense really didn't push him enough to learn and to be developed into a pro. I think they were trying to rinse and repeat some things that he had done successfully at Washington. I think that they worked to a degree, but I do think that as a coaching staff with a young quarterback who has tremendous college experience, who now has been in the NFL rodeo long enough to understand what it takes, right, and what he needs to improve upon as well. I think moving his feet more aggressively, more quickly, being more active, getting to the spot and creating space for himself as a thrower is really my main observation I would have for Michael Penix. But his talent of his left arm and his ability to throw the football down the field accurately is absolutely just unbelievable in comparison to Tua Tagovailoa. I mean, you're talking about just like absolute home run hitter in Michael Penix, and then, you know, a guy that's got to win by decision every game, right? By kind of playing the game within the game and managing that way. And, you know, for them, I really think that securing Bijan Robinson for the long term and what that looks like is going to be huge, especially too for just his ability to, I think, be highlighted even more so than what we've seen from him in the past with Kevin Stefanski, because I think that they'll incorporate more of what we've seen from the Jahmyr Gibbs aspect of his career in Detroit. And that is, you know, Jonathan Taylor, more of a traditional running back, more of like, hey, a 3-down running back can do a little of everything for you, protects well enough. He's a home run hitter running the football. Doesn't get much highlighted action right out of the backfield as a patch catcher as often as Gibbs, as often as Bijan Robinson. But for Bijan and for Gibbs, I mean, they can almost make the claim with their contract negotiations right now that they're receiver two in a lot of the ways that they're constructed week in and week out with their game plan. So that's where it's really interesting. And I think that's where it'll ultimately kind of come down to that. Wouldn't be shocked if Jonathan Taylor is the one that gets paid first, being the more traditional back. And then the next guys to follow that are probably going to be, I would think, Gibbs and Bijan going into their second big contract and it being a splash and then resetting that running back market. And we'll see which one does actually get the deal last and maybe gets the winning vote as far as the overall brownie points of what they earn. But, you know, these are guys that just unbelievable creativity at the line of scrimmage, whether they're running it or whether they're in the passing game structure of it. Jahmyr Gibbs, playing in 49 games, has over 5,000 yards, scrimmage yards in his career, 49 touchdowns a game. So that's what Dan Campbell's thinking about. And this is what's interesting too for like the coaches, totally powerless. But Dan Campbell, when he's asked questions about his boy Gibbs and what they're going to do, all he knows is that he's missing 100 yards per game out on the field, and he's missing one touchdown, right? Every single time that guy does not line up for them. So Jahmyr Gibbs is absolutely, I think, in a better position right now with that roster to kind of break the bank and to make his impact at the running back position with his payout, along with Bijan Robinson. And then the traditional back, Jonathan Taylor, maybe being a little bit more just caught in the weeds of it being his third contract with the other guys going into their second. So them, of course, being younger, a little bit more opportunities for them to have a more of a burst for this next contract. Wouldn't be surprised if they really go out and pay that man his money. So one of the most important things right now that I have going on is I'm building Sims Complete out. I'm adding coaches. I'm adding people, trying to find a football director of operations. And my God, where can I find someone to do this? Well, I found the place. It's ZipRecruiter. All right. I was fortunate enough to go and find ZipRecruiter and use their powerful matching technology to find qualified candidates that know exactly what it is that I'm trying to accomplish with Sims Complete. And that's building an awesome football program from top to bottom across the board with unbelievable people. So what did I do? Go to ZipRecruiter, typed in all the things that I want to see in the people that work for Sims Complete. Got to love football, got to be a great teacher, got to enjoy the game and giving back to the community and being a part of that. So that's why I went to ZipRecruiter. And guess what? They were able to match me with their technology, with the exact people that I needed, right, to be successful within our coaching community. So try ZipRecruiter for yourself. Meet and greet candidates who will go the extra step for your job. That's exactly how it worked out for me. 4 to 5 employees who post ZipRecruiter get quality candidates within the first day. Yep, I experienced that as well. Try it for free today at ZipRecruiter.com/audio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/audio. ZipRecruiter, meet your match on ZipRecruiter today. All right. And that's from us, Sims Complete, trusted source. All right. We know all about it. Thank you, ZipRecruiter, for helping us out. And that's where I think, too, just right now at the state of football, it's really just an interesting time of the year because we've already seen Aaron Rodgers, I think, coming out with like a great comment that I find very interesting. He is saying to the media, and really just for him to kind of go out there and say this, I find it pretty interesting. And I was actually sharing this with Bob Papa earlier on SiriusXM NFL radio. He wants to go under center more. He wants to be at the line of scrimmage, under center. And I think ultimately for the older quarterback, right, towards the end of his career, you don't see that often. You often see, hey, the older the quarterback is, the more comfortable they want to be in the shotgun, right? It's like if they're really young, put them in the shotgun. If they're really old, put them in the shotgun, right? So it's like that's the old saying, like twice a baby, once a man, right? But in a different terms as far as quarterback age goes. But, you know, Aaron Rodgers, I think the last time that he was really asked to implement a ton of his leadership, you know, at the line of scrimmage under center, Mike McCarthy and him had a great deal of success with their play action passes, with their ability to tack down the field with those play action passes, to implement a solid foundational run game to lean on consistently. And I think ultimately, too, at this point in his career, you know, I think Aaron needs to kind of go back to some of those things that helped him become the Aaron Rodgers that we all know of him today. So this is, I think, a really cool moment for a veteran quarterback to realize, all right, for me to maximize everything that I can potentially do within the NFL here at the back end of my career with a coach who knows me as well as anybody, let's get back to the basics. Let's get back under center. Let's establish the run game. Let's get downhill. Let's be tough. Let's play Pittsburgh Steelers football. And then let my high football IQ, experience, and overall throwing talent to just absolutely win us games and to manage games in critical moments. Because that's the other thing too. Under center, how many times have we seen Aaron Rodgers take that football from under center and throw that little quick slant to the receiver to his left or to his right on a run play where everyone's blocking run, and he hits that quick slant for 6, 7, 8 yards? Those are the plays where his football IQ and with Mike McCarthy's understanding of the player, his capability, and their knowledge of their offense together, and also their experiences separated from each other, right? The ability for them to adapt, something that I think is totally new and refreshed for both of them to build that collaboration with. So I'm really excited to hear that from Aaron Rodgers at this point in his career, because there's a veteran quarterback that's challenging himself in a way to get closer to the trenches, to manage the game from that line of scrimmage position more, to get back to Pittsburgh Steelers football. And I think Mike McCarthy is a huge reason why that is taking place. And the Steelers right now, plus 500 to win the AFC North, according to FanDuel right now. So plus 500 to win the AFC North. And the way that the AFC North has played out these past handful of years, why not? Why not the Steelers? And we've seen, too, that new coaches, new regimes, because there's just a new energy in the building. Mike Tomlin been there for essentially my entire adult life. Now he's gone. Mike McCarthy comes in. The team has been successful with Mike Tomlin, and we saw it in basketball with the New York Knicks. Sometimes just a new voice, but it's really the same approach to the game in a lot of ways. Man, does some awesome wonders for an NFL franchise, their football team, their players. So expect that type of energy to really cross over here this season, especially too with Aaron knowing that he's getting towards, the back end of his career. He's only got so many opportunities left. And with Mike McCarthy and all that, I just think that just speaks perfectly to what Aaron preaches about, the growth that he's shown as a human being. Meeting up with McCarthy again, the Steelers think it could be a really special thing right now. The other thing that I find really interesting, and this is something that I discussed as well with Bob Papa earlier today, Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray, I think, has an awesome opportunity to rewrite the narrative that has been surrounding him his entire career. And we saw this now with Kevin O'Connell and Sam Darnold, what they were able to do. Sam Darnold's experience in San Francisco. Well, Carolina, San Francisco, right? And then, of course, with Minnesota and all of those things and those lessons culminating into a fantastic season. I think that's exactly what we're in store too for Kyler Murray. That's really honestly what I'm hoping for. That's what I want to see. I want to see that type of story for Kyler Murray, and for him to be highlighted in an offense where it's not all about him, but they're able to make it about him by being creative, creating space for him, using his legs in a way that maybe Arizona missed out on. And I really do believe that Kevin O'Connell is going to give him an awesome opportunity. And now this is where it's like a little interesting. It's almost inverted where, the young guy in Atlanta, Michael Penix, his talent is going to show every day compared to Tua. It's not even be close. They're going to be like, whoa, there's one guy throwing it. All right, and there's the other. And we know the difference between the two. And then in Minnesota, the problem is the guy they thought they would potentially have for the future, is he still the future if it goes really well for Kyler? And I think ultimately this is what is a little bit of a double-edged sword too with this discussion. And you've heard me mention this, to my father as well when we talked about this subject. I don't want J.J. McCarthy to win the battle. I don't even really think it is a battle to begin with, but I don't want him to win the battle because I think it's only a matter of time before people start clamoring for Kyler to see what he would look like in that Minnesota Vikings purple. So for Kyler, if he starts fast, if it's good, if it looks good, he potentially could be setting himself up for a long-term situation there in Minnesota with the talent that they have too. Signed Juwan Jennings this offseason, big, strong, physical receiver. I think he's going to fit perfectly with Kyler's style, right? Of course, you have Addison, right? I mean, Jordan Addison has been, it seems like with Kyler Murray all offseason, And all I see is just videos on social media with those two working together. So clearly those two are connecting really well this offseason. And then you have the top or one of 1A, 1B top receiver in the league, Justin Jefferson. And we know how impactful he's been, even with subpar quarterback play, still making huge impacts in the game. So if Kyler Murray can upgrade that position just a little bit and bring some of the flash and flare that we've seen with his career, man, my God, we should be in for a really entertaining year. And now with Caleb Williams, Jared Goff, Jordan Love, big year for Jordan Love as well. Man, really exciting time, I think, for that NFC North division and seeing how it plays out. So a lot of interesting storylines here early on in training camp. We already see, too, some people, battling just the anxiety of going to training camp, the injury thing starting, right? That's a whole other aspect of it. Coaching moves being made. I mean, how about the Commanders firing their tight ends coach like 2 days before camp? So a lot of stuff happening simultaneously for these franchises. It's unbelievable the action that takes place. The NFL never sleeps. Sims Complete. We're going to be here for all of it. And hey, Phil, great job today. Oh, thank you, son. Appreciate it. This is Matt Sims on the Sims Complete podcast, brought to you by Believe Sports Network. And thank you so much to FanDuel, ZipRecruiter. We'll see you guys next week for more action here on the Sims Complete pod. See you guys.